Hey everyone, here's a creepy, scary, or disturbing fact about every killer in Dead by Daylight. Let's get into it. Judgment. When sent to exile, you're able to see the souls of those who failed to escape, twisted into the pillars, statue, and structures. They also appear as strange floating faces, which can be used for protection against the Judgment's beams. This means that the moving, tormented faces within Judgment itself are actually trapped souls, and possibly even the souls of the 4 survivors from the trial prior, with it having 4 pincer-type legs. Jason. Jason's most disturbing cosmetic is surely Death Forsaken, a cosmetic which tells the story of a dead and rotting Jason coming back to life, breaking out of his own grave, and picking up the shovel that was used to dig it. He then attacks a woman who tries to fight back with a broken oar, but it does nothing. Interestingly, this could also be the story behind the broken oar spike that we can see in the trial, which would be quite a cool connection, I think, if all of these were related to a victim of some kind. Henry. One of the most disturbing voice lines in the game, in my opinion, is the one said by Henry when he marries Eddie, saying, "You were never the hero." This is so harrowing and holds so much weight knowing how Eddie felt when he died, made even freakier by the fact that Vecna knew all about it despite not even being there. Krasue. Whilst in-game, her transformation into the Krasue seems quite simple, with her just detaching. The lore-accurate version of this seems far more painful though, with it being described as an inner burning that's so intense it causes Burong to tear away at her own flesh until the pain alleviates. We even see this briefly in her trailer cutscene. It's pretty horrifying. Springtrap. He has a bunch of disturbing voice lines that indicate his casualness toward killing. "Wait there!" And it's this jokey nature which is very disturbing and something he speaks about for a number of different actions. "Let the fun begin. I'm the fun one." He is truly twisted. Kaneki. Kaneki has a particularly disturbing prestige or bloody cosmetic, with the blood appearing specifically over his hands, which appear drenched, but also his mouth, where we can see it dripping from his chin all the way down his body. This is unique to most, where they're completely covered in blood. Kaneki is different as he actually consumes it, and presumably consumes the rest across his body, leaving only his hands and mouth covered from consumption. Houndmaster. When encountering Ripley in the lobby, there's a chance that Jonesy can appear around her. This causes Snug to perk up, as if to hunt Jonesy down, which is horrible. There's also a specific line which is particularly disturbing, which goes,
"Here, kitty kitty. I have someone who wants to say hi."
Which is just, oh, I hate that. Dracula. This has got to be one of Dracula's most disturbing cosmetics, being the aftermath of him being exposed to the sun, causing excessive burns and his flesh to fall away, revealing a glowing blue inner light, which must be the source of his vampiric power or something. This magic displaying also across his cloak. Vecna. One of the most disturbing things that Vecna does is he actually removes the survivor's body part when reclaiming either the hand or eye of Vecna. This is most notable and visible with the hand, with it being much larger, but this surely happens for the eye as well, even if it's not so visible, which is pretty horrifying. Unknown. One of the most disturbing things we discovered about Unknown was in Jason's lore, where the two of them fight. At the end of this fight, Jason smashes Unknown around until there's only detached limbs, with its body completely destroyed. And Unknown essentially being a pile of gore, it begins to reconstruct itself, thin threads of muscle twine back together. Even when almost completely destroyed, Unknown still survives, which is likely why it did manage to haunt Greenville for so long. It also raises questions about just how ageless it is, and how long it could survive. Maybe forever? How old is this creature? Chucky. Chucky has many horrifying cosmetic stories, but one of the worst has got to be his Christmas cosmetic. The story is about him escaping his good guy box that was wrapped up as a present on Christmas Eve. The first thing he does is murder the father of the household, presumably with this candy cane decoration which he fashioned into a knife. As the rest of the family wakes up, he tells them, "Merry Christmas to all, I will kill you tonight." A likely horrifying image for the son of the man, especially with him dressed up as Santa. Xenomorph. Much like Kaneki, Xeno's prestige or bloody cosmetic is particularly horrifying, and shows off the Xenos are precise and powerful biological weapons. Only their hands and mouth are covered as well in large portions of blood, where the rest of it remains relatively clean, and actually sort of blends in with their sleek black colour. Their mouth also just looks so menacing with the density of blood. Singularity. Similar to Springtrap, Singularity also has a number of rather jokey voice lines, which show its attitude toward the survivors, but also humanity as a whole.
Grovel, grovel, little worm.
It's a little funny, of course, as just observers, but to consider Hux as real, this would be terrifying, dismissing the pain of the survivors as blabbering, or the dismissive nature when morring one of them.
It will be bad, possibly painless.
Skull Merchant. Skull Merchant is particularly twisted, and is said to use powdered glass on her dual blades, as a means of slicing through her victims with even greater ease. It's a creepy tie-in with her own lore and the Lyra's lore, with them using it for their kite fighting to cut the strings of other kites in half, but Skull Merchant using it to literally slice people in half. Knight. Knight also has a very disturbing bloody or prestige cosmetic, with his being absolutely drenched in blood, but being particularly disturbing due to just how dense with blood his hair is, with it being mottled, likely also seeping into his helmet. It's what he likely looked like when slaughtering hundreds as he went village to village raiding, a terrifying sight. And also just really gross. I mean, his hair in general is really gross, but it looks even grosser when it's drenched with blood. Wesker. Wesker in the Resident Evil series is shown to have a photo of Rebecca, and it's pretty damn creepy, especially with how much older he is. This is somewhat referenced with one of Rebecca's lobby poses around the campfire. Bro is a creeper, and it's definitely disturbing. Dredge. There is so much that is disturbing about Dredge, but one of the creepy details that actually appears on its map, the Garden of Joy, is within the house. Upon stepping across the border into the house, you'll begin to hear strange distant noises, and also moans, that sound very much like that of Dredge's Nightfall. In the case of the Garden's house though, it's likely down to it housing an overlap, meaning these sounds are the voices of the dead and consumed people of the Garden seeping through space and time and into the realm, which is super creepy. Sadako. One of the freakiest things about Sadako is her weird and creepy cursed tape, which when shown to someone will curse them, causing them to die after 7 days, unless they pass it on to someone else. This happens in game 2. After buying the Sadako DLC and having 7 days pass, you'll see a DVD version of the cursed tape in-game, which presumably curses us as the viewers. The whole thing is super eerie. Artist. Something creepy about Artist is that she's a killer with one of the highest densities of alternate cosmetics that change her completely, such as Jabberwock, Miss Fuchi, the Leshen, and Boule Artist. It's interesting as often Artist's cosmetics are ones she herself has designed or thought up, with them manifesting in the realm with her artistic vision, meaning many of these and their visuals may be her own design, sourced from the dark feeling within her. There is certainly suggestion of this in ones such as the Jabberwock. Pinhead. On Pinhead's bloody or prestige cosmetic, we can see there's a pin that bleeds the most profusely, suggesting either it has just been pushed into him, or possibly that this is the original pin, the first, noted in one of his add-ons. Nemesis. This one is sort of a correction from a previous video, but as you all pointed out, these tubes on Nemesis's blighted cosmetic are actually the tentacles from the Any-Alpha parasite that inhabits Nemesis. The parasite itself has seemed to have evolved and grown out, taking over the body of Nemesis even more, all as a result of the Blight. Trickster. One of the most disturbing things we can find on Trickster's otherwise quite clean and pristine map are bodies, these being bodies from Trickster's murders, as after all, this entire realm is made up of Trickster's own delusional mind, and specifically what he wanted to do after Mina was released to the world. He wanted to slaughter everyone. Twins. The most twisted part of the twins lore pertains to the strange experiments that are done to them, all of which relate to the realm in some way. They're forced to break the neck of a small bird, seemingly preparing them to create the bird wreaths in the realm that killers use as offerings. Next, they bleed their fingers into a vase of roses, seemingly for the old moon bouquet offerings. Then they sleep with a damp oak beneath their pillow, a reference to the oak branch offerings. Then finally they are nearly killed in a freaky memento mori execution before escaping. All of this happening again before they were even taken by the entity. Blight. Blight's add-ons give us a disturbing insight into what the blighted serum actually contains, with some of the ingredients being very horrifying. The soul chemical squeezed from a gland in the brain, and adrenaline squeezed from the adrenaline gland of a dead survivor. Then there's some rose tonic from the retired New Moon Bouquet, umbra salt, being salt that has passed through the spirit world, which is what both Wraith and Nurse interact with when they cloak or blink, and even bile collected from Adiris, the plague herself. All of these suggest Blight is up to something, or that these are ingredients for the serums. Either way, it's pretty horrifying. Pyramid Head. It has to be this cosmetic, one which depicts Pyramid Head to have flayed himself, with his upper half appearing raw and skinless, and the loose skin hanging down around his waist like a skirt sort of, with his hands being visible. It's truly horrifying. Interestingly though, the story this skin follows is actually of Pyramid Head skinning someone else with them being pinned to a wall by the end, so I guess he decided to do himself and then do someone else too. Deathslinger. One of the twisted things about Caleb is that although he's often portrayed as once being innocent, this isn't too true, with there being darkness within him from a young age. This cosmetic telling the story of his mother getting spat on, and Caleb constructing a small wooden gun which breaks, with him believing he will one day make a better one that can do real damage. And these are his thoughts as a child, a trend which appears throughout his lore and flavor text. Oni. In Oni's Demon's End cosmetic, we see him depicted as he was on the day he died, or would have had the entity not taken him, as he was overwhelmed by peasants and left to die in a stone mill. We can see huge gaping wounds in his side and back, his face mangled with pieces of his helmet smashed into his face, and his nose sliced off, his body and arms pierced with arrows and seemingly fishing lines, and other various farming tools that non-soldiers may use to fight, as he was attacked by a horde of the people, essentially. Yet throughout this, he still held on to life for a time. You can see why people thought he was an actual demon if he lived through all of this before the entity even changed him. Demogorgon. One of the strange things about the demo in DBD is that we don't really know exactly which one it is from the show, and it likely isn't one directly, seeing as DBD lore follows different canon compared to the show, meaning it's a different universe. This demo has Barb's shattered glasses as an add-on, and also has claws called Barbarous Claws, suggesting instead of capturing Barb, in this universe she may have been straight up murdered after being captured by the demo, with the demo's bloody cosmetic also referencing a missing person. Ghostface. Ghostface Santa has a horrifying backstory which tells the story of Ghostface deciding to hunt and kill a mall Santa, grabbing him and taping his mouth and throwing him into the trunk of his car to kill. We can even see where the struggle happened with the visible tears in the outfit that Ghosty now wears, with him making this a front page story on Christmas Day. Come on, man. Plague. Plague's bloody outfit or cosmetic mentions that the blood she's covered in is from the vultures that she killed. But which vultures? Where were they coming from? They were presumably coming after her due to her literal rotting body from the plague, with them circling and picking away at her, which is a horrifying image. Legion. Legion's bloody outfit depicts them absolutely drenched in blood, yet the flavor text just says they like to commit bullying, vandalism, and theft as part of their weekly routine. Which is like, huh? Look at them. There's no way that's just bullying. I think this does possibly suggest that Legion were far more violent than we may have seen directly in their lore, and potentially have killed many others that we never knew about, or at least Frank and Julie did, with these two bloody cosmetics referring to them specifically as a couple. Or it could be a more metaphorical sort of blood on the hands from all the crimes they did or something like that. Spirit. This cosmetic for Spirit finally confirmed a long-running theory about her, the White Eyes theory, with it detailing a story about her losing control during the blood moon, lashing out at what she thought was her father, only to find she had cut up 4 survivors. The White Eyes theory being the theory that Spirit's vision is being manipulated to see the survivors as different people, particularly her father. So there we have it, it's true. Clown. The suggestion via his add-ons and Mori that Clown actually has a finger preference based on who he's killing. In his add-ons he has a middle finger from a tattooed man, and a pinky finger from a woman. Then in his Mori he picks a different hand based on the survivor, suggesting Clown may adjust his preference based on who the person is, picking a different finger based on a number of factors, which is really creepy, especially as one of them appears to be taste. Pig. Amanda is a unique case where we actually see the entity embody someone in order to manipulate her. In this case it's Jigsaw, or Billy the Puppet, really, with this being one of the entity's canon forms, used to manipulate her presumably, but also due to its creepy appearance, showing its dedication to manipulating Amanda and feeding into her delusions, that this is all part of Jigsaw's plan. Freddy. Freddy is unique in that his prestige or bloody cosmetic actually shows small chunks of blackened flesh, suggesting it's been burnt, much like he was. This is most notable or visible on his neck. This can mean he's been burnt since committing violence, or he has gotten revenge on his victims by burning them also, causing the flesh to appear burnt. Both are horrifying ideas. Bubba has a pretty horrifying note on one of his prestige or bloody cosmetics, with it simply specifying that the blood type of the person he killed was O negative, said to be 2 months old. This being specifically noted on the mask part, which also suggests this is a much fresher skin mask he's made, and still remembers details about the victim down to their blood type, which certainly makes him more sinister than he often appears. Huntress has multiple instances or cosmetics that suggest she does in fact eat people. There are of course the wanted posters which suggest this, and name her Beast Woman, but these seem more like propaganda to scare people. However, take her Mordeo outfit, where it outright says she did eat people, causing her transformation into the Mordeo. It sort of tracks too with her being raised as a wild animal, made to survive on whatever she had. Doctor's cosmetic for the Black Banquet suggests that as well as getting a submarine of people to experiment on in the realm, Doctor also gets to torture and experiment on anyone who decides to overindulge in the banquet itself, but doing it in front of everyone present, likely to set an example. Hag, she has a horrifying detail on her transformed arm, with it shown to be buckled onto her via multiple belts and a bandage, suggesting her arm likely completely fell off as she was eaten away by her captors, with it reattaching upon her summoning the entity, and it empowering her, which is truly horrifying. Maya's add-ons all reference Judith and her death in some way, with this being the defining moment that shaped Maya's, with this being his first kill. However, there's one add-on that doesn't fit this theme, which is the dead rabbit, suggesting possibly this was actually his first kill before he decided to go for Judith on Halloween night. Nurse. In Nurse's masquerade mask, we can finally see her eyes for the first time, out of any of her cosmetics, her eye being shown as still and a light blue, but frozen. It's highly likely therefore that she's blind and was blinded when she got into the ambulance crash, which is why she always wears blindfolds all the time. This as an image in itself is just very freaky though, as you can only see it through sort of the cracks of the mask. And even then, these might not be her literal eyes, they're probably not, but more so a representation of what they do look like. She has suffered so much. Billy's weapons are almost all self-made, specifically crafted to cause more damage and pain, from his altered shotgun hilts, to his mash of various knives attached to a sheriff's car light, to a firework launcher-made hammer, cow leg pierced with charred bone, and completely custom shock hammer. The guy is clearly twisted and comes up with a variety of horrifying weapons. Wraith's jester cosmetic is curious as it's described to be a dark inner part of him, buried within, which emerged with a cruel grin. This sort of suggests that despite Philip often being portrayed as a victim and someone who doesn't like violence, there is a deep inner part of him that desires violence and death, and to perform twisted actions, and this is how it manifests onto him as a creepy jester, with it saying that with all the terrible things that had happened, all he could do was laugh. However, his weapon does suggest a slightly different story, with it saying that when he finally did witness violence, the laughter fell away, which sort of suggests that possibly this is a twisted form of repressed happiness that Philip is so out of touch with due to the horrors of his life, which is equally as freaky. Either way, it manifests as this strange jester character that he embodies. Trapper. The appearance of Eren or the Attack Titan is interesting on Trapper, with its lore specifying that they are from a lost realm being one that has been consumed and abandoned by the entity, suggesting the entity decimated but also conquered the Attack on Titan universe, showing off its excessive power. Alright, well that's gonna do it. I do hope you enjoyed, thanks for watching, and goodbye.